Welcome to The Explainer. We're jumping right into a really critical story today, one from Gloco Media that uncovers something pretty startling. You see, climate change, it's not just about the environment. Not anymore. It's really a crisis of inequality. And we're going to see that play out in Nigeria, where the weight of a changing planet, well, it's not being shared equally at all.
And this quote right here from environmentalist Yukame Ekong, it just hits the nail on the head. It's not just about the environment anymore. It's about human survival and equity. I mean, that really gets to the core of what we're talking about today. The climate crisis is a human crisis. It's about fairness.
All right, so before we dive deep into what's happening in Nigeria, let's just take a quick step back, to make sure we're all on the same page. When we throw around the term climate change, what does that actually mean?
Well, according to the United Nations, it's basically these big, long-term changes in our temperature and weather patterns. And sure, some of this stuff happens naturally, but the evidence is just overwhelming. Since the 19th century, it's really been human activities that are in the driver's seat.
And get this, our planet's surface is now about 1.2 degrees Celsius warmer than it was back in the late 1800s. I know, 1.2 degrees, it doesn't sound like a whole lot, does it? But in planetary terms, that is a huge deal. It represents a massive, massive shift in our climate system.
So, what's causing all this? It's a list that's probably not going to surprise you. We're talking about things like cutting down way too many trees, burning refuse, and of course, all those carbon emissions pouring out from factories, cars, even generators. Every single one of these things is contributing to the problem, changing the weather for all of us.
Okay, so that's the big picture, the view from 30,000 feet. Now, let's zoom right in. Let's get on the ground in Nigeria and see how this whole crisis is really unfolding for people there.
What's happening in Nigeria is really a story of two extremes. It's kind of wild. Because of these crazy, unpredictable weather patterns, you have some parts of the country dealing with these horrible droughts that just kill off all the crops. And then, in other areas, you've got catastrophic flooding. It's this total lack of predictability that makes everything so much harder.
And look, this isn't just some abstract thing happening to the planet. This has a real, tangible human cost. We're talking about people having to leave their homes, farmers who can't even count on the seasons anymore. And those ripple effects, they're huge. They're hitting everything from people's health to the entire country's economy.
But this is where the story takes a really crucial turn. Because while, the whole country is feeling the heat, so to speak, the actual burden of this crisis isn't being shared equally. It's not even close.
So that leads to the big question, right? When things go wrong, when these disasters hit, who really bears the brunt of it? And the answer, which is what this story is all about, has everything to do with gender.
Just take a look at how this breaks down. Women often handle the small-scale farming, right? So when the rains don't come and the crops fail, they're on the absolute front lines. Plus, they're usually the ones responsible for getting water. And during a drought, that can mean walking for miles and miles, for hours. For men, the impact is different but still severe, especially for herders who are forced to move south as their lands dry up. So everyone's getting hit. But because of existing inequalities, women are just so much more vulnerable.
And Ukeme Ekong puts it so plainly. It's not some academic theory. She says, when there's drought, women have to walk longer distances to find clean water. It sounds so simple, but just think about the incredible weight behind that one sentence. It captures this huge, extra burden that's just piled on top of all the other daily struggles.
Okay, so we've laid out the problem and we see how unequal the impact is. That's step one. But what do we do about it? Let's talk solutions. What does a better, more resilient future actually look like?
Well, the experts are pretty clear on what needs to happen, and it's a multi-level approach. We're talking about practical, on-the-ground stuff like planting more trees, especially mangroves, which are amazing for protecting coastlines, and getting environmental education out there to everyone. But, and this is so important, it also calls for bigger systemic changes, like making climate action a real priority in government budgets and getting different sectors to work together, not just sitting around waiting for help from other countries.
And this all boils down to 5 key recommended solutions. What's so cool about this list is how it doesn't separate the environmental stuff from the people stuff. They're woven together. So it's not just, hey, let's build some climate-resilient infrastructure. It's, let's support agricultural groups run by women. See the difference? It's about empowering the people who are hit the hardest, mixing that big-picture policy with real grassroots action.
Which brings us to one last, really big question to leave you with. If there's one thing this story shows us, it's that you can't separate climate change from inequality. They're basically two sides of the same coin. So it makes you wonder,
If our solutions for the climate crisis completely ignore the inequality problem, are they even real solutions? It's something to think about, right? It challenges all of us to think about building a future that isn't just green, but is also fair for everyone.